You should have gotten me the ones that are like
All
for
of-
like 5 years old. You know, like
all
just
the bad
one
ones
bag.
should Welcome to Building Friendships. I am your host, John Sosis, and we are with another one of my favorites today. He's a comic. I mean, he's one of the first comics I saw when I moved out here. He's a writer. He's an actor. Mr. Francisco Ramos.
Hey.
What's going on, bud?
Thanks for having me, buddy.
Thanks for doing it.
Of course.
I'm excited. We tried to get you last season, but you're a busy man.
I know.
You're-
I was just afraid of
Lego?
Of Lego.
Let's show them what sets we're doing. So you said you're a Star Wars fan.
Yes.
We're going to do the Emperor's Throne right there.
Like this.
I'm continuing mine. We're on the second. We're going to do the Avengers
Wow.
Tower.
Okay.
We're
Is
trying
that
to
where
get
they live or what? Or where they
That's
work?
where that was like the building they had in New York. That's their work office.
Okay,
yeah.
got it,
But
got
they
it.
work from home, kind of. They're like
Okay.
superheroes.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
they're good. But yeah, I'm going to try and get this done by the end of the season. It's not looking great.
All right, now I got to put the little guys.
So yeah, we met. You were one of the first comics I saw live when I first moved out here, because it was just at the point where I was going to the store just to get used to this and like letting everybody know who I was and whatever.
Yeah.
And you were one of the. I was like, holy shit! And that was one of the first times you, Fahim. There's like a collection of comics where you all work the middle of the country and rarely do the other cities.
Yes.
I'm like, how do I not know about this person?
It is how the new game is now in terms
Yeah.
of comedy. Like it's all about now clips and like that's how you're known now in a way. So it's like it's I don't know. I mean, it's just different now because now it's more about like that than just the credits, which is when I started. It was more about like, oh, did you get on the Tonight Show or did you have this kind of credit? And now it's
Which
like,
is like worthless now.
oh, it's completely like
Worthless.
it's. I mean, I think if you do it, it's like a cool like thing for your like like a little tap. Like you did it, but like in terms of moving people to get you to come to see you live, it has nothing. It's not.
Yeah.
It's worthless, like you said.
It got to the point where Kimmel was like, we're not going to be.
Oh,
doing it
really?
anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Kimmel doesn't even do it anymore. I think it's partially because it's Disney, and Disney's probably terrified of just having comics go there and doing their
yeah,
stuff. But
yeah.
also, I just don't. I think there's more value if Kimmel did a online exclusive and let a comic do a stand-up set in front of his crowd and just post it online.
That's true, like a clip, stuff like
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
also then you can be more, you don't have to be so censored about it too.
Exactly.
Because that's another thing too, like when you do something, you know, like for a Tonight Show kind of thing, you have to have like, vetted and all
material.
this stuff. It's like, it's not even like saying bad words. It's like, hey, now we can't use this brand, or you can talk about this brand because they're paying us for our ads.
Yeah, is that something you've had to do with?
Yeah, because when I did Last Comic Standing, I remember I had a bit about saying something in CVS or something, so that they were like, no, can you, like, I had to change it to Walgreens, because I guess they had something, which is like, all right, whatever, like, I mean, but things like that, where like, hey, we can't, which is, in a way with a stand-up, like you get used to like a rhythm, even just one word can sometimes, so it's like, oh, now I gotta change this thing, like, from like not how I was doing it before,
Which, if it's as simple as just changing it from CVS to Walmart, sure. But like, if for some reason you had a bit about how big the CVS receipts are and making fun of that, and it was specific to CVS, you have to throw the whole bit out.
Oh yeah, of course. It's like it's over. You can't use it. You know? Like which is like, it's again, it is like the business of it, but it's like sometimes it's kind of like, oh really? Like then that's the thing with stand-up. Sometimes I feel like you need to have a way that I don't think you can't like either hire the stand-up to do what they do or don't. I mean, I guess. If you want to change a couple little things that it doesn't messes up the whole like vibe of the stand-up, cool. But if not, then it just, because to me that's also, I've seen other comics too. Like that's one of the things like I, doing other reality shows like AGT and all that stuff. I'm like now because then also people see you as one thing and then they come see you and they're like, oh, why are you cursing? Or why are you talking about this? It's like, well, because I couldn't do that, on national TV, but that's not what I do. You know what I mean?
I think there are a lot of comics who do like family movies and then they go see the comic live and they're like, well, that's not the guy from the Disney movie. It's like
Well, that's like Bob Saget, you know what I mean? Like he was the complete extreme of like such a like a nice dorky dad, and then he's just talking about like crazy shit
about fucking the Olsen twins. It's like, okay.
I know, exactly.
Yeah, there are a lot of comics who they get booked for corporate gigs, and they're like, yeah, but you can't. You have to be clean. You can't do. It's like, then what did you think? Why'd you hire? Because I look physically like attractive or something? Like, why did you want me specifically when you could just get a clean comic, which is probably more expensive? Like, you're not getting a clean comic with notoriety that is cheap. Like a Seinfeld.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I mean that's happened to me. I mean, like not that I'm a dirty, crazy comic, but like I do when I get hired for corporates, you know, I'll definitely. And they always go like, oh yeah, you can do whatever you want, but you can't do whatever you want because they're not ready for. I mean, a lot of the times they're not even ready for you. They don't even know like what's going on. Like the last one I did, they were like, it was like they didn't know you were coming. It was like a surprise. I'm like, comedy should never be a surprise. Like that's not a good thing to be like. That's the worst thing you can have. Like somebody be like, oh, we're eating and now you're gonna do stand up. It's like, I just came here to have a drink or something. So it's like whenever they do this whole like surprise factor, I don't think it's ever good. You know?
Yeah, so I worked in the corporate world at a record label, and the music industry, it's full of trash and like surprises. And we had a mental health week every year, and one week they decided, okay, and at the end of the week on Friday, we're gonna all go to the lounge, and we're gonna have a comic come down, and it's someone I've known it was Jessica Kierson.
Oh, yeah. She's
I was like,
not.
Did you ever see Jessica Kierson, or did you just hit up a company and say, hey, can you recommend a corporate performer?
Yeah.
The HR was down, they were mortified. She was ripping them apart. I'm like,
and she didn't hold back. She did her thing.
She did her thing, and I was like, this is why I loved her. She was the first person who got me into comedy. I've talked about it a million times. But they didn't know how to respond to it. I'm like, it was never done again after that. They never did that again, but it's one of those things where like, okay, somebody needs to understand what they're doing before they just go and do it.
Of course. I mean, it's just, again, it's like either hire. And again, like, look, I think when I do, for example, any corporates or any private events, I get it that they're like, in a way, I'm not doing it how I do it, you know, when it's my show. And I get it because they're paying me more.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, fine. But also, like, you can't just, like, know who you're getting to as well.
Yeah.
Like, if you're getting somebody that's really edgy or really dirty or whatever, then it's like, don't even hire them. Because they're completely not gonna change. That's who they are. And then if they don't do well, it's like, well, you basically told them not to do what they do. You know?
My biggest concern with that stuff, like looking at it from a performer's perspective, would be when, like, they get out of that room where you were just forced to do something that you don't do. Like, this is not the type of comedy I do. You've done it. They're going straight to Twitter. So-and-so came to our office.
Exactly.
They weren't funny. Or Facebook post, hey, Francisco's going to be in town. And then the person who's he came by my office once and he wasn't fun. Like, nobody needs that.
Exactly. And also, too, like, it's not even, sometimes it's just the venue, too. Or the situation, you know, it's kind of like, like, I did one where, like, they didn't have any lights facing where the performer was going to be.
So they just had the room lights?
Yeah, just to the audience. So it's like, I mean, like, how are they going to see it? So yeah, obviously, if you don't have a good show, then people go like, oh yeah, he wasn't funny. It's like, yeah, but like the situation, even the venue wasn't working. So that's another thing too that it's very unfortunate to like for a comic that's like, and like you said, people now go to Twitter or whatever and they can just share their opinion. It's like, well, it wasn't what it was, you know.
So you were born in Venezuela, right?
I was born.
How old were you when you moved here?
I was 12.
12. Okay.
I moved to D.C., Maryland, DMV area. That's where I grew up. We moved there because my mom she got a job at the Pan American Health Organization, which is part of the World Health Organization. That's the reason we moved there. We moved there because, and it was supposed to be like a 2-year kind of like contract thing, you know, but then it got renewed and then obviously we stayed, you know. So I grew up in Maryland suburbs.
Okay. And how at 12, how hard is it to adjust to that life?
Well, I mean, have you ever gone to a new school or like? Yeah.
I mean, I've gone to a new side of the country and I'm not adjusted yet.
Exactly, but you'll know the language.
Yeah.
And you know the culture, you know.
Barely,
so like,
but yes.
Add that, and then add being a 12-year-old boy trying to be liked and trying to, you know, when you're not. So yeah, it was. I mean, like, I remember the first 6 months, you know, it was like a blur in a way, because I was like, I remember just, one of the few things I remember was just like crying because I didn't get like I remember doing like homework until like 4 a.m, you know.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, why do they give you so much work? I'm like, I don't know. And I was doing like the whole like math workbook. And then I realizing that I didn't, obviously because I didn't know English at the time, that the assignment was like do pages 44 to 47 or something like that. And I did basically all the work for the school year.
For the whole year.
Yeah. So stuff like that, and then just literally not, you know, being the outsider too, like completely, because in Venezuela I was kind of like part of the cool kids, if you want to call it, or part of the cool group. Okay. So like then the opposite of like coming here and be like, oh, I'm not, and which also helped me kind of like realize not to be not that I was like, but realize oh yeah, when I used to like even maybe make fun of kids that were not in the group, now I was like I was the other one, so it got me to like, oh yeah, it's not fun.
Were you bullied here?
I was never bullied, but I did get called like which is one of my early bits that I did. I got called spick, you know. Really? And I remember it was like, I didn't even know what it was because it was in the classroom. And then this kid, I remember calling me that, and like, I didn't know what it was, but I knew the tone wasn't like nice. Yeah. So I knew there was something about it, and then I, you know, worked a bit about it where I was like, I thought he meant speak. You know, so I'm going like, no, speak. And he's like, no, you're speak. I'm like, no, speak. He's like, and then that's how like you beat, you know, racism with ignorance. You know, that's how.
So when did you realize you were funny?
I felt like, well, that was always my defense mechanism. Ever since I was little, like I was like a very like good student, and then you know, I get good grades, but always the bad grades that I would get is be like, you know, I was talking, you know, like just bad behavior, always trying, you know.
Class clown.
Exactly. And I feel like that was my thing. I always like joking with my friends or making fun of something, and then that was like also then as I got older, that was always my thing to, like that was my weapon to get into people to like me. Yeah. Like, you know, like, and it wasn't like I was like extroverted to be like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm like, it was more like there's a group and I would say something like that, you know, I mean, like, hey, you know, like, and that's how, you know, so but I always had that, and I always like comedy as well. My dad also was funny, like he was the opposite, like very extroverted, but he would just go and do like a lot of like typical like dad jokes, you know, like, but he would always have people laughing and stuff like that, so it was always like a cool, like, so I kind of got that from him as well, you know, so I always had it, but I never knew that it was something that I could actually do as
like a monetization type
thing. Oh, no, not at all. I mean, until like basically almost.
Did you just not see it as a realistic thing for you to do, or did you not realize that stand-up was an option for you?
Both. Okay. Both. I mean, I grew up in my parents, you know, they both went to college, and they all both, like, their whole idea, I guess, of being successful was like, you know, you graduate and you go to work in some office or some company, you know, and that's it.
Be miserable like, forever.
Yeah, that was like the whole thing, and I was like, in my mind, I was like, well, that's what I'm gonna do, you know, because I kind of also follow what people want, you know, society in a way, you know, so I never asked myself, what do I like? I was like, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. So that was always my thing. I never knew that, and even knowing that, I didn't even know what stand-up was until like, basically, it was my last semester in college, and I majored in finance and international business. And,
wow. It's always fascinating to hear what comics majored in and what they like.
Yeah, it's completely like, you know, and then I remember like one of the, the last semester I was gonna take a class. It was supposed to be basically what I wanted to do, like what I want to concentrate on.
Yeah.
You know, it was like security evaluations, some stuff like that. I don't remember, you know, and then I remember the first day I was like, took it and I was like, ugh, like I don't like it. Like it was a really weird like thing of like, this is weird. Like I'm supposed to do this for the rest of my life and I hate it, you know. But it was the first like kind of clue. Then obviously like, well, I just gotta keep doing this. So, you know, I passed. You know, I graduated. I remember even like I kind of cheated my way through it. I don't remember even learning anything, you know. And but then I graduated. I started working at an investment firm. And then same thing again. I had that same feeling of like, oh, I had this like, oh, I knew how my life was gonna be. Yeah. Like I could see. I was like, okay, I do this, and I get the MBA, and then you get married, and then you get the kids, and even you
That's
buy the
what
house.
A lot of people don't realize. Like when you make certain decisions, they're for the rest of your life. Even when I see people getting married and engaged in their early 20s, I'm like, I understand you have possibly 80 years left to live, right?
Exactly. And it's like, but it's again, a lot of people just do it because they think they're stuck in a bubble. It's like a society bubble. Yeah. And you're like, well, I'm supposed. And then the older you get, the more you get scared to like get out of that bubble, you know.
Well, I think we're about the same age. When I graduated college, we had the financial, like the recession, and nobody who majored in something that wasn't entertainment was getting jobs, and they had all these debts to pay for college.
Yeah,
it's like, well, this is what happens. This is how they get you. You think the bank's not going to be collecting that money?
Yeah,
like, you're giving that bank that money.
Yeah, exactly. And this, by the way, I'm still stuck in this.
No, you're crushing it. You almost have a full person together.
I have a person, but I can find the other. I don't know what the other dude is.
What are you looking for?
I mean, because I think this is the bad guy, right?
Yeah, so you just have to build the bad guy.
But where's the good guy?
You're looking for the other middle of the body.
Exactly, because I have this. You should have gotten me the ones that are like for like 5 years old. You know, like just one bag.
So you didn't know that comedy was an option. Now was it an open mic? Did you take a comedy class?
Yeah, no, I went. So I started like I that time like Whose Line Is It Anyway was very popular that show. So like, and I remember watching. I was very like into it, and plus Seinfeld as well. Like, you know, so but mostly that. So remember looking online and found some class at the DC Improv. And I remember going, you know, on a Sunday afternoon just to take the class. And that's when I first realized that everything, like it all, like when I was like, oh, this is completely different from any other experience that I had, you know, since, you know, all my life. Like I try to play the bongos and like that lasted like a day, you know, or like skateboarding also didn't do it. And again, I play sports, but I was never that good at it, but this is the first time that I saw something that kind of like, I was at like, you know, like Neo, like on the Matrix at the end when he's like seeing everything a little slower.
Yeah.
And because I remember the first time we were doing it, like you know, zip, zap, zap, and all that stuff, and I would get it right away, and I always saw other people that were there. I was like, how are you not getting this?
Were you a good writer at that point? Because a lot of times, I remember taking a stand-up class, I was able to structure jokes. Nobody else knew how to write. I knew how to write. I hated performing. They were comfortable in front of people, but they couldn't write. So it was kind of like they had opposite problems for me. Were you able to write jokes?
No. At that point, I didn't even know what, because I didn't even know like what writing was. It was more about the natural instinct of knowing what was funny. And like when to come in, when to say something that was funny, or how to say something, or how to perform something that was funny. So it was all that, you know, the writing. When I started doing stand-up, I did read the thing that I never took a stand-up class. I did read the Judy Carter's Comedy Bible.
Okay.
About it, which I recommend that book because it's actually a great book. It basically teaches you just, you know, how to write a bit, you know, like what a premise is, a setup, you know, a punchline, a tag, and all this stuff. And it also teaches you a little bit about the stand-up world and all these things. And with that, that's how I started doing it, you know. And that's why I always tell people, like, in terms of, like, stand-up, I feel like, like, one class or one book or one thing is good, just so you can get the idea of what it is, but then it's all about you just doing it. I don't think you can
And I didn't know that, and I think I grew up with the stigma of you have to know somebody, and I had no clue how to get into it, so that's why stand-up class paid off. But yeah, I think now it's so easy to just, again, it's 2006, we barely have the internet, iPhones don't exist, but like now it's a little bit easier to find people online and reach out. Like, you know how many comics talk about getting DM'd, like, oh, how do I get into stand-up? And like, personally, I laugh at that idea. I'm like, oh, look, we're going to have more stand-up comics, but that's how you do it now. Like, that's the best way to kind of figure it out.
I've gotten those DMs. People are like, hey, how do you do it? How you got, like, and you just tell people what you do, and then it's up to them to kind of like, do it. But it's, I think, but I feel stand-up is one of the things where, like, I feel like, for example, acting, like, you do need classes. You do need to, and you need to keep going to classes or just to kind of like, get better at the acting. But I think stand-up is one of those things where, like, once you know like the basics of it, now you just gotta like go and do it, and do it in like do actual shows. You can. That's the only way to learn. Because
does it feel good when you get those DMs because you realize that like people. You've obviously hit somebody in some way that they think this is the person that I want advice from. Like, is that registered yet? That you've had so much success that you get those DMs?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's sometimes it is one of those things. Sometimes I still feel like weird, but not weird, but it's more like, oh, why are you asking me? Like, kind of, because I'm still not. But I gotta realize, like I'm doing a lot of stuff that. People are not even,
they're dreaming
of doing it, So I do always, my thing is like, I always try to be, as cool and with anybody that asks me anything, and I like talking about it. I like talking about, because I like telling people like, hey, do your passion, do what you like. Don't stick to like what people tell you to do or whatever, so it might not be comedy, it might be something else, but like, find that, So I'm always very passionate about saying it, and I always try to, like help people. And a lot of it is more like, you give them, kind of the clues or what you did. I always tell people like, this is what I did. Doesn't mean it's the way to do it, but this is how I went through and stuff like that. If that helps you, great. But now it's up to you to figure out as well.
You can only help so much.
Of course.
Get them on stage if they have stage right.
No.
There's also like the stuff where you don't want to be a dick, but you also just can't bring anybody on the road with you. Mark Norman was talking about how he's doing the Beacon Theater in New York. The amount of DMs he got from people he didn't even know were still doing stand-up to open for him. It's like, you don't want to be a dick, but also like you work to get this.
But also like, that's the thing too, also like, that's comedy 101 as well. Like if you're going to ask somebody, ask Mark Norman to open for you, like, first of all, you got to be doing already stuff that he knows that you're good enough to open for him. You know what I mean? Like, but to randomly ask, hey, by the way, remember me? We start open mics and I don't do it anymore. Do you mind? It was like,
it's
no.
Crazy.
Like, it's like,
crazy
to me, that's also like a little like delusional.
Yeah.
Because why would you even ask at that point? That's like, and I think it's also being aware of like, of the world of being a stand-up comic or whatever, because, like, like, I wouldn't even ask Mark Norman to open for it. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, I know I could do it, but I wouldn't even ask him because it'd be like, it'd just be weird, like randomly, like, hey, by the way, you don't know me, or we run into a couple of times in shows, and now can I ask you to open for? No, it doesn't make sense.
There's a self-awareness that seems missing in a lot of people in comedy.
And that, I think now is more prevalent too. I mean, I think Chris Rock said it in his with that documentary with Kevin Hart, where it was like people come up to him like, hey, what's up, Rock? Can I help? Like, because now they see you through Insta, like it's more accessible now. So then they
feel
think,
like there's a personal relationship.
Exactly, and they're like, no, who are you? Like, I don't, like,
why would you even think that was an option?
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like when we were at the store the other day and Chris Rock was there, and I was like, I was just like, hey, I was like, how you doing, sir? Kind of like, hey, just listening, like I'm not. I know where I think it's also, you gotta know where your totem pole is in terms of like where you are in the world of stand-up and stuff like that. You can't just, especially if there's people that have been doing it far longer than you, and then they're like, you can't just pretend that you're in the same boat, kind of.
And that is from what I've seen whenever he comes by the store, because I was there that night standing with you guys, and I think he appreciated just being around comics that weren't asking him for things, and you know that he just seen your set. So you're like, it's not like me having to audition for him. He saw what I can do. If he wants to do business with me,
that's it.
I'm right here. He'll get my information. Which you crushed that night, even though the crowd was weird.
No, it was.
So it was like a perfect situation.
But he just gave me like, the cool thing was like when I got done, because he was sitting like around Mitzi's booth, and he just gave me like a that. That's all. That's all I need. To me. That's like, okay, great. Because to me that's saying like, hey man, you're kind of like, you know what you're doing. You're one of us. Like you're not BSing. You're not bullshitting. And I'm like, that's it. Like I don't. And that's all I was happy about, you know.
Because there's that level of, I don't need anybody's validation, but then if Chris Rock's sitting there,
of course,
getting it, not the worst thing in the world.
No. I mean, one other guy, no.
And you didn't go there. You weren't like, I'm doing a spot tonight because Chris is there. He just happened to be there. You did your thing and it worked out.
But one thing that I really kind of like, for me, I was kind of like proud of myself was that I knew he was, because as soon as I would go up, I knew he was sitting there.
Yeah.
And I still did my shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? I didn't, because maybe 5 years ago I would have, tried to perform differently because I knew, like, when you're auditioning and like you're not being yourself or whatever. And I like the fact that I'm like, knowing that he was there, I still didn't give a shit in a way. I just did my own thing. And I really like that because it was more of like, okay, now, and it's what you're saying, like I know what I'm doing. I know that I'm a good stand-up comic. I don't need to prove anything. So I like that. And for me, that was like a little growth moment for me.
I knew he was at the store because I saw him in the booth in the main room. I didn't know he was in the back when you were up there, and I didn't notice anything different. Where a lot of comics would be like, "This is my audition."
Exactly.
I didn't notice. Oh, what's Francisco? This isn't.
That's not what he does. Yes. And it's funny because we had a conversation about the other comics about that when people go and they see somebody on stage or something like that, then I gotta do something different. It's like, nah, you're not. You do what you do.
Because you're not gonna. What are you gonna do when it comes time to do a real show for him? You're gonna just be this new person forever.
Exactly.
When you were in DC getting into stand up, did you have somebody that was helping you out, that was like giving you advice, or were you really just on your own the entire time?
No, everything was always been on my own pretty much. I did it all like. I mean, again, either reading some books or like when in DC, it was all by myself because obviously none of my friends were in it. Like they're all like finance,
civilians.
Yeah, they're all norm people. I always call them normal people. Like the ones that
the worst word people call them is civilians.
Yeah, they were like, which is So nobody was there. And then when I moved to LA too, it was like. It was also just a lot about myself. Then it was cool though when I first moved here and then going to the open mics and stuff like that, finding that there were other people that thought like me, that were kind of like in the same tribe, I'm like, oh, okay, these are people that, I'm always thinking about, funny. I mean, which was cool to find. Like I wasn't like because over there in DC, I felt like I was like the weird one. This one was more like, oh, okay, there's actually people like, and then you find out there's other. More even crazier people too. That you're like, all right, this is a little too much. Like I'm not like, all right,
enough's enough. Yeah. Once you start getting in with the comics and surrounding yourself with comics, and they're like, okay, this guy's really funny. Let me give him advice. What's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
Worst advice I've ever gotten? Man.
I mean, or you maybe not have received terrible advice. You've done a lot on your own.
I think, I guess I don't. I mean, I think it's not worse advice. I've gotten like when people try to give you like, oh, this is funny, or like, and not just comics, it's more like people, like actual audience members. They go like, hey, you should try this. I'm like something completely racist. I'm like, yes, I'm not, sir, I'm not gonna, are you crazy? Like, I'm not gonna say that, but I don't think I've had any, just all the advice that I guess I remember has always been good, kind of like stuff that's helpful. Yeah.
All right, last question. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Oh, just one?
Yeah, just one. Just need one.
I would be taller.
Really?
Like 6 foot.
What are you now, like 5'9"?
I mean, just like
really, that's interesting.
Yeah, like because I felt like I, just a way of like there's some tall stuff that I would like have.
I mean, you're married, so it's not like you're doing this to get
women. But I would have. I mean, now not anymore. But that's one of the things. I'm like, there's half of the population that I couldn't make because I just don't like. I like But
that's
interesting. Guess. But also, I felt like just being. I guess just there's other tall stuff that you feel. I don't know. Okay. I don't know.
No, that's an interesting. I love this answer from comics. Yeah. I don't think I've gotten the same answer twice. Really? That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, I think it's because I like who I am. You know what I mean? I don't think so. I'm just saying like, if I could be a little taller,
wouldn't be the worst thing.
And also for me, I'm thinking just even casting wise. I'm like, maybe I could get casted more.
Okay.
If I was a little
tall.
Do
you think it's held you back at all?
No. Okay. I don't think people are going like his. No. Another. I mean, no, not really. But yeah, I think that would be my thing.
That's a good answer.
I think something that's like not.
I didn't realize people thought about it that much. Like, I guess I'm barely 6 feet. So.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not. Believe me, I don't feel like.
It's because I put you on the spot. That's your answer. That's the first.
Yeah, that was the first that came to my mind. It's not like I feel like I'm like, I'm so small. I'm short. Like I never had any prejudice about that or like who I am. But like, but it'd be like.
It's a good answer though.
If something that's like, I guess I mean, I think, and I guess physically, I guess because I mean, I think Another thing, I mean, and emotionally would be to have more confidence. Not confidence from just knowing that you're good, like not ego, but like just not real. Because I grew up with this other. I mean, I think the way that I grew up, and that's the thing that I learned while I started this journey of knowing that you're good, but when sometimes you grow up in a family that's always looking at the negative.
That's my entire family. I mean,
so that's how I grew up. So then I
Jewish family. That's all they do.
Well, it's the same thing.
What's the worst case scenario? Everything is leading to another Holocaust.
Exactly.
Everything. We're okay. We're okay.
That's the thing. Everything. And always looking at the bad side of things instead of like for example, I always give an example. Like when the Lady Dynamite on Netflix, I had like one or two scenes. I had like one line or something, and then I remember I sent it to my mom. My mom saw it. And the first thing that she said was like, how come you didn't have more lines? I was like, it's not like, oh, that was great, congrats. By the way, when that was the first, and I'm like, but that it's just that of like going like,
it's like what could I find out where it went wrong instead of like celebrating the stuff
stuff that happened and how hard it is. So it's like, so I think it's that.
Yeah, that's one of the things I want to change about myself because I grew up in a family like that. I want to be able to handle it better because I will let that get to me, even though I know that what I accomplished was
good. It was great. But then and I feel, but I realized like what got me, helped me was like knowing that like my family, my grandparents and my mom and how they were raised in this other times and this, so now I kind of get it. So I don't take it so personally. You know what I mean? Yeah. So when they say something, I just laugh about it more than like, ugh. Obviously it still gets you a little bit, but now it's more like, that's who they are. That's them. I mean, and I know, because I know it doesn't, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. It doesn't come from bad.
It's bumping.
Catherine Blanford in the studio.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Yeah, we're wrapping up. No, I'm the same way.
For some reason you said lot, and I was picturing garage, and I was like, I just did a couple circles.
You did it.
Hello. We're recording right now.
I think so.
It's fine. We had a cameo. We're wrapping up.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Right. It's live.
It's live.
5 million followers.
We're streaming. Everybody's commenting on you right now.
The whole feed is going nuts.
Catherine Blanford just jumped in front of the camera. She saw cameras. She's like, I'm on. It's go time.
She got her mic in the car.
Listen, take it. You're now in 2 episodes. You milked it. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. How far did we get?
I did this.
You got both? Okay.
I did, and some kind of like, so I got a little. This is this. I couldn't figure out.
You
this
got
part.
really close, but you're gonna take it home and you're gonna. Finish
yes,
it.
I will finish this.
I'm on the 2nd floor. We're getting ready to start the 2nd floor.
Wow.
We're getting there. Francisco, where can the people find you?
Social media, Google me, but yeah, Instagram, all that stuff, TikTok, F Ramos Comedy, Francisco E. Ramos is my website. Just put Francisco Ramos Google and all my dates are there and all my information is, all my stuff that's going to come out later this year.
And he's not Francisco Ramos who runs international film for Netflix. Just throwing that out there.
Did
you just meet him?
No. Somebody just DM'd me 2 hours ago. Like, are you the guy that created this elite? And I'm like, no.
Not me,
but thank you. I wish, that would have been great, but no. But yeah, it's funny. It's just I guess it's in Spain or something. I don't know.
Who knows?
But yeah.
All right, follow me at Sadie and Sosis. Follow us online at Building Friendship Series. Follow Catherine Blanford at... Okay, she's going to give it in her next episode, but we can give her a plug here too. And we'll see you next time.